Chapter 6, we locked up with dolls. There were some kind of blockers in the way of the rest of the building. Mono and Six snuck over to them and peered over. On the other side was one of those plain white robots again, with wheels instead of feet, and also Six tisked. It was the white and pink bird again. She was staggering around the big statue of Freddy, most likely on the hunt for them. Six and Mono ducked down again behind the border things to stay out of sight. How to get past her?
Hello, Mono, Six, can you hear me?
The two jumped at the noise, but immediately relaxed when they realized it was just Freddy again.
Yeah, what's up?
Mono asked as he pulled the watch up towards him.
I am looking at the cameras, and I can see that you are stuck at the turnstiles. Do not worry, they can be opened with a complimentary entry pass. There should be one over to the right at another convenience counter.
Six raised a brow. All that just to get through these?
Or we could just, I don't know, climb over it,
she suggested sarcastically. Freddy was silent a moment.
Yes, I suppose you can do that instead. Just be careful not to hurt yourselves, though you still will not be able to enter the pizzeria. You can find an upgrade machine at customer service, the room on your right, though it is closed off as of now, so you must find another way in. Try using the rooms on the second floor. They have stairs that lead down to the first floor rooms.
Mono nodded.
Got it.
And be sure to steer clear from the staff bots as well. They do not have a large range of sight, so you should be able to sneak past them with ease. However, if you get too close, they will sound an alarm and call for the nearest animatronic, which would be Chica in this case. Use the cameras again to stay out of Chica's way, and hide if she gets nearby.
Alright. We're going to need to be quiet, so don't call us again. I'll call you when we're safe.
Very well. Good luck, children.
And the call shut off. So the bird was named Chica? Interesting, Six supposed. These things all had names, it appeared. Mono looked down at the watch again, flicking through the camera feeds.
It looks like she's just moving around in a circle. Once she makes it back around this way, we can follow behind her upstairs.
Six nodded. Sneaking past the bird was easy. Sneaking past the, what were they called again, staff bots was easy. Getting the upgrade that they needed, while annoyingly complicated and inconvenient, was actually easy, just tedious. After maybe 15 minutes of sneaking and running through the rooms and the lobby, they were finally able to get the dumb purple magnet thing on the machine and scrambled it in order to get a... Well, they couldn't read, so...
Freddy, the magnet scrambled the machine and now we have a card.
Mono explained through the Fazwatch.
Is it to the main atrium?
Six groaned. How were they supposed to know?
It's blue and it's got a round yellow smiling thing on it.
That is great news. It is now a daycare pass. It will let you into the daycare wing. Just head towards the second floor balcony, and there will be double doors to your right. I will meet you both in the daycare.
Six and Mono exchanged confused glances. What the heck was a daycare? Well, whatever. They just needed to get there. Not figure out its function. Sneaking back to the second story was once again easy, and the two quickly made it to the double doors that they had seen earlier as they had snuck around. However, it took a frustratingly long minute to figure out how to open the door with the card. Apparently it was used like a key of sorts, which only unlocked the door when they slid the card through some black box thing on the wall. It took them way too long to figure out how that worked. The bird had been close to spotting them by the time they finally made it through and closed the doors behind them. The hall before them was huge, and had pillars with pink lights, paintings on the brick walls, sleek patterned floors so shiny that they could see their reflection in it, and above them was a starlit night sky. Mono and Six both awed silently at the sight above them. They didn't get to see stars often. Usually the sky was covered with dark clouds.
It's so pretty.
Mono whispered as he gazed up at the stars. Six was about to agree, but after a moment, she noticed something and narrowed her eyes.
They're not real. It's the ceiling. See? The other lights are being reflected on it.
Mono blinked, then squinted his eyes as well.
Oh, yeah, you're right. There's no wind or noise either.
Well, that was disappointing. Oh well. The place still looked cool. Six herself was impressed with how shiny the floor was. The two walked further down the large hallway, trying to figure out where to go. There were other doors that they checked, but only led to restrooms, so they continued on past them. The paintings on the walls had giant red arrows pointing further in, so they silently decided to just follow those and hopefully get to the right place. On their way, they also saw another one of those capsule things that Freddy had to stay in. Then finally, there was a storm door with a sun and crescent moon painted on it, with arrows on either side of the door pointing directly towards it. Mono pulled up the door and the two climbed under. On the other side was another large room, with tables and chairs everywhere, as well as another prominent golden statue, this time of two figures that they didn't recognize. The opposite wall to the room was completely open, and a net of some kind was around another large open area. Mono once again pulled up his Fazwatch.
Freddy, I think we're in the daycare? There are two statues here.
Yes, you are in the daycare. However, I am on the other end, and cannot enter. You will have to check the daycare security desk for a badge. It is inside the play area, by the large double doors.
The play area?
The boy echoed confusedly.
Yes, the netted-off room. There should be a colorful tunnel that will slide you inside.
The kids exchanged glances curiously. A slide, huh? Interesting. They walked over to said entrance to the slide and looked over the guardrails and through the netting to see an extremely colorful room, with some kind of structures inside. Six looked at the entrance to the slide again, seeing arrows that pointed inside, and some letters written over it. She glanced over at Mono to get his opinion. The boy then looked at her.
I haven't been down a real slide before. Maybe it's fun.
Six rolled her eyes, but smiled softly.
Yeah, maybe.
She hated to admit it, but she really wanted to go down this slide. However, Mono walked up to it first.
I'll go down first to check if the coast is clear. I'll call you when I'm done,
he said as he climbed into position. Six nodded, then watched as he somewhat hesitantly pushed off and went down the slide. It took a few seconds, but soon she heard a rustle of some kind, a noise she didn't really recognize. She heard a bit more of that, and then Mono finally called up the tube.
We're good.
K.
Six then got into position, and then soon pushed herself down the slide. She was overwhelmed by all the twists and turns, and the rows of colors that she passed by made her dizzy. Then suddenly, she was dropped off into colorful plastic balls. So that's what the rustling was. Six had to take a moment to right herself, what with all of the balls making her slide around. Soon enough though, she saw Mono stand in front of her, holding a hand out for her to take. She grabbed it and was quickly pulled up into a standing position, then the two began to wade through the plastic toys. Geez, there were so many balls here. It was like it was a pond. The noises the plastic was making didn't help them feel secure at all. Something was sure to hear them, right? And as it turned out, something did. They heard a new noise from above them, sounding like clicking, and looked up to see a castle-like balcony where a figure emerged. It looked like one of the statues they had seen before, but a robot, with a cartoon sun for a head, and thin and spindly limbs. It stood up with its arms raised, and with an odd-sounding laugh, it jumped and dived into the plastic balls. Both Six and Mono shivered. Mono took Six's hand and tried to lead her over to the walls to climb out, but it was too difficult, what with the height, the balls making their footing weak, and the walls being soft and squishy to the point where it couldn't sufficiently support their weight enough for them to climb from where they were. Instead, they were forced to stick by the wall as they cautiously waded through the pond towards what looked to be a small bridge out, trying to keep their eyes peeled for any sight of the robot. Even with all of the caution, it didn't work. Before they could even realize it, the robot popped out of the plastic balls right in front of them with a loud screech.
Hello, new friends.
The thing grabbed Mono, who had been the closest to the thing, up under his arms and pulled him up in the air and towards its face. Six was knocked back from the movement, landing and stumbling over the plastic balls to get back to her feet.
You two sure are up late. Are we having a slumber party?
The thing asked. Meanwhile, Mono silently struggled and kicked against its hold, desperately wishing that he had a weapon with him right now. Maybe then he could hit this guy to get free. Thankfully Six recovered quickly and pounced at the robot, pushing and wrapping herself along its leg. The robot didn't stumble much from her attack, and instead looked down at her curiously.
New friend, what are you doing? Pushing others isn't very nice.
Let him go,
Six demanded, still trying to push him. The robot tilted its head, then faced Mono again, the boy still struggling and kicking. After a moment, its posture straightened a little.
Oh, do you not like being touched, new friend? I'm sorry, I got too excited. Here.
The robot quickly brought them out of the pond and set Mono down on the colorful, and somewhat squishy, floor, Six following behind and putting herself next to her friend defensively. Mono didn't seem hurt, Just surprised, so that was good. The robot waved its arms as it looked at them for a moment.
Oh my, you two look horrible. You're so dirty. Are you hurt at all? You have scars. Oh, you have one all wrapped up though. Are you hungry? You look too thin. What are your names? My name is Sunny.
Boy, this thing was loud. And nosy. Six and Mono glanced at each other, then back to the robot, Sunny apparently, and kept quiet. Sunny waited for their reply, but didn't get one.
Do you not like talking? That's okay. We can finger paint, tell stories, drink fizzy fuzz until our heads explode and stay up all night. There is only one rule. Keep the lights on. On.
Keep the lights on, huh? Mono felt his heart clench when he remembered what had happened last time the lights in a room went out. All of those mannequins, their hands all reaching for him. He honestly didn't even know how he survived that. He hid a shudder. Yeah. Mono was fine keeping the lights on. The boy looked around. The place was so colorful, it hurt his eyes a little. He could see the play structures better now, which actually looked like they would be kind of fun to explore. There were tiny tables and chairs on the floor, which Mono assumed was for the kids. Then, on the opposite wall, there were big brown double doors, and next to it was. His eyes lit up. The desk. Mono went to walk over to it, but was quickly stopped when Sunny suddenly jumped in his way.
Hey, are ya having fun yet? Are ya?
Mono frowned. Six tried to walk around him now, but she was also stopped by Sunny blocking her way.
New friends, can I know your names? I'd really like to know.
Six puffed her cheeks angrily as she tried again to walk around him, only to get in her way again. Mono frowned once more. This thing, while definitely weird, didn't seem to be threatening. Maybe it was more like Freddy than the other robots? Well, maybe if the boy answered its questions that it would let them move around?
I'm Mono.
He told it. Six turned and scowled at him. Mono just gave her an apologetic and sheepish smile. She rolled her eyes, and crossed her arms.
My name is Six.
Sunny hummed in thought.
Mono and Six. Your names aren't in our database. Where are your parents? Do you know their names?
Mono and Six fell silent, Mono in hesitation and Six in spite. Mono didn't fully understand what a parent was. Was it like that dark-skinned woman he had seen with the dark-skinned boy? Freddy had said that it was an adult that cared for a child. Though to Mono, that sentence seemed like an oxymoron. Sunny's white eyes seemed to soften slightly.
Are you scared of your parents? Have they ever hurt you before? Have they yelled at you?
See, that sounded more like an adult that Mono was used to. The boy didn't really know what to say. He wanted to make a small comment that that's what all adults are like, or that they didn't have parents, but he kept his mouth shut, unsure of himself.
Why do you care?
Why do I care? Because I care about all of my little friends. You won't get in trouble if you tell me your parents are hurting you, I promise.
Mono furrowed his brows in confusion. Friends? They've barely even met each other. How can they be friends already?
We don't have those.
Mono mumbled out.
Parents, I mean.
The robot blinked.
You don't? Then who are you staying with?
Mono exchanged a confused glance with Six.
A foster family? Or maybe another family member? Or an orphanage?
Mono wasn't really paying attention, he kept looking back towards the desk on the other side of the room. But how to get there? The boy's eyes lit up. A distraction. Sunny couldn't be in two places at once. And Six was the faster of the two, while Mono was the stronger. He would distract Sunny while Six snuck and did what they needed to do. Mono gave the robot a nervous smile as he fiddled with his watch behind his back.
I stayed in an orphanage once. It wasn't that great. Someone came and took everyone away, but I escaped.
That memory of the burning orphanage was tough to relive, but Mono put on his best smile for Sunny anyway. He got his watch off of his wrist, and with the hand it was in, he took Six's hand to place in her palm suddenly.
And then I met Six a little after that.
He quickly made eye contact with Six once she turned to him, and subtly motioned for her to go to the desk. She raised her brows in a question to ask what about you? And Mono motioned towards the robot. She seemed to get it, and nodded subtly, taking the watch to hide behind her back and taking a small step back. Sunny seemed stunned by Mono's story, and leaned closer with intrigue, and maybe concern.
What do you mean someone took them away? Did they go to new homes?
Mono glanced towards Six to see her slowly backing away even more, and thankfully Sunny didn't notice, completely distracted by Mono.
I don't really want to talk about that.
It was true. That moment was hard to remember. He had been so scared back then. The fire, the shadowed figure following him, which he now knew the identity of. The boy knew that the thin man was dead now, but it didn't make that memory any less painful or scary.
I can talk about other things though. You know, I stayed in the woods for a little while.
Sunny seemed disappointed by the change of subject, but didn't comment on it.
You did now. Were you in a big tent, or a small tent?
I didn't have a tent. I just slept on tree branches.
Tree branches up in trees.
Yeah.
New friend Mono, that is dangerous. You could have fallen.
I didn't. I was careful.
Still, what if you rolled off in your sleep?
I don't move in my sleep. And they were big branches. They could hold me.
Sunny seemed unsure.
Well, all right then. What about 6? You said you met her soon after. Was she in the woods too?
Mono went to nod, but then stopped himself.
Kinda. She was in a house that was in the woods.
Was that her home?
I don't think so. The hunter there had her locked up in a room in the basement. I broke her out though.
The triangular points around Sunny's head began to spin around.
Locked in a room? Against her will?
Mono nodded.
But we escaped, so it's fine.
That is certainly not fine, new friend Mono. Do you know who hurt new friend 6?
The hunter. He was wearing a mask.
Do you know the man's name?
He's one of the monsters. He probably doesn't have a name.
Oh dear, well maybe new friend 6 knows. New friend 6.
Sunny cut himself off when he turned to where 6 had been standing, only to see her gone. Both boy and robot panicked, though for different reasons, as Sunny scanned the area, only to stop when he spotted 6's raincoat behind the desk.
New friend 6. That area is off limits. You're going to get us in trouble.
6 glanced up from the desk, but paid the robot no mind as she continued doing whatever it was, even as Sunny started approaching her. Mono panicked even more, and quickly ran up to and in front of Sunny to block his path, only to panic again when the robot jumped over him and continued walking.
Don't you want a puppet show? I've got glitter glue. Do you like glitter glue? Googly eyes.
Mono gave up on stopping him and instead just ran towards where 6 was. He heard a weird squeak or honking noise, and 6 reached into something small. Then only a second later, the lights went out. Mono was at her side before he even realized that he was.
No. Why would you do that?
Sunny yelled as he hopped up on the desk.
Lights on. Lights on. I warned you. I warned you.
Sunny clutched his head and screamed in pain, seeming to struggle against something. Then he leaned back and fell off the desk and onto the floor behind it. Mono exchanged a confused and fearful expression with 6 in the darkness. Everything was difficult to see. Then they heard the robotic noise of joints clicking, and looked back to see spindly hands grabbing the desk, then 2 red glowing eyes rose up from behind it.
Naughty girl. Naughty girl? It's past your bedtime. You must be punished.
It leapt up onto the desk.
Nighty-night?
Then it jumped away into the darkness.